button. We did the button. We punched the button.
We sent that.
Hey, we're talking fishing. And we got a drawing that we're going to draw today. All that and more on this edition of Tackle Shop Live. Hello, Scott Lockoff. Hey, Jack. How you doing? Jack Hinkle. What's up, buddy? Kevin Carpenter. Hey, Mark. How you doing? Keith Howard. Devin Walton. What's up, fellas? Man, good hearing from you guys. Glad you're stopping into another edition of Tackle Shop Live. Welcome, everybody, from Facebook Live and over there on YouTube Live. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Keith Howard, what's up, man? Ed Rudnowski, how are you?
A lot of people are glad that you're back.
Charged Lightning, man. What's going on, buddy? Boom time. Todd Lingle, Jeff Riddle, Michael McCabe, Andre is always with us. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Andre. Man, we got a great show for you guys tonight. And one of the things we're going to be doing is drawing for the Bass University stuff from that we had going on a couple of weeks now. Everybody got involved with it, and we had a lot of entries from on both sides, Facebook and YouTube. So we're going to draw that here shortly, and go over that. And we also this weekend is the championship for the Conowinga Bass Anglers Open Series. The championship is you had to fish 5 of the 7 tournaments. And the people who qualified for that and purchased $100 at Susquehanna Fishing Tackle is eligible for the bonus money.
How much is that?
I'm not sure. We're still calculating that.
Yeah. I mean, I heard a rumor of like 800.
At least $800 bonus.
Wow.
Yeah. So
could be you guys fishing that one?
No, we only fished 4 tournaments.
Yeah, we didn't have we didn't qualify. We didn't qualify.
I mean,
I'm not pointing any fingers, but the smallmouth were biting a couple times on the river.
And, we had an opportunity to fish one, and
Jordan was
we went on an adventure. I mean, I had the boat hooked up, and I was ready to go, and at the last minute, we called an audible.
Yeah, it was like,
and
we're not going to miss this next beat down.
The river was on the rise.
I think Corbin had.
We dropped the hammer on some big old smallies.
Yeah, I think.
But you know what?
Yeah,
that's all good.
We decided to run all the way up the main river.
We had a lot of fun. Mike and I fished 4 of their tournaments. We had a lot of fun, and I think this might be the 3rd year that Dave and Brian ran their events. I might be wrong. It might only have been the 2nd, but it feels like the 3rd. And Mike and I. This is the 1st year we fished them, and I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great time. Great
You
time.
might want to earmark your calendar for next year if you want to sample it. I know we're talking real local right now, but if you want to sample some prime fishing with a good circuit, the Conowinga Bass Fishing Circuit is going to do a
little winter series.
A winter series. Yeah, basically a fruit jar tournament. You throw your money in the hat and
go fishing.
And guess what? That time of the year, which is now this time of the year, the fishing is spectacular. So something to think about.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going on this weekend. That's going to be exciting to hear how those guys do because there's
a lot of tournament stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot, and the fishing's great right now everywhere, and all these championship tournaments are going off. There was a guy here today going to the Toyota Series Championship down in Pickwick.
Okay.
Yeah, he was stocking up and getting ready. He's excited to do that.
We talked about the Toyota Series Championship, and this is what's interesting about that. No entry fee. $200,000 for first place.
Yeah, that's a monster deal.
On the boater side.
Yeah,
and George.
And on the co-angler side, first place is a Phoenix boat.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, I mean, based on if I remember a couple Tackle Shop lives ago, maybe within 10 to 15, on the boater side, you're fishing for second. You already called the winner. You already said Keith Combs is winning Pickwick.
Yeah, Keith Combs is
right. I mean,
I don't remember that, but I think
I do.
Now that you say that,
I do.
I do remember that.
George is like, it's one thing to win the Southern, Toyota Series, but now that he's in, he just got another $200,000 payday. It's kind of the way he's.
I'm just telling you right now, Keith Combs is like peaking at the right time. Keith had. Admittedly, by his standards, he's had probably 2 tough years on the Elite Series where, it's like football. Football is a game of inches. The Elite Series is a game of ounces. And the difference between a great year and a so-so year is a lost fish here, a small limit there. What have you, a breakdown mechanical issue.
Right.
So Keith is coming back up to his level. And guess what? He's gonna be all 8 cylinders firing at the Toyota Series. So
yeah,
I'm covering all action on Keith Combs. I think Vegas has him at plus 150.
I was saying 1 to 200 odds.
Yeah, right.
1 to 200.
Got him at plus 150, and we'll see what happens.
So
guess what's good for us? We got another tournament to follow next week.
You're right. You're
so
right.
This week we're following the last Open.
Yeah, which we'll get into in just a minute here.
So we got a tournament that we're watching.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, we're going to get into some tournament talk here in just a second. Well, I'm glad to be back. I was on vacation.
Well, apparently everybody else is glad you're back too.
Yeah,
I know, George.
Yeah.
We thought we held down the fort, but apparently we just sucked.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, this is Tackle Shop Live with Mike and everyone else.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see everybody here. Roland Staten and St. Crest is here. David Stottlemyre, Michael McCabe, Brian Heisley, Mike Meyer. I'm sorry, Mike Heyer is watching.
Mike Myers.
Well, I got
next
that.
Week.
Well,
he's next week.
Yeah, I got that in my mind. Our family's a big giant Halloween family, so we've been watching horror flicks for the last.
Mike Myers coming in next
weeks.
week.
Troy Wink. Hey, cameraman Nick's here. So and now cameraman Pop's here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jake Harsman. Okay, that's great. Thank you guys so much.
I got a shout out.
What do you got? What do you got there, brother?
I would like to give a shout out to the OG. I'm going to call it politically correct, and we can kind of choose if we wish to toast to it or not. But Keith Goss turned 60 today.
Keith Goss.
We have got to give a shout out to the
Keith Goss.
Yeah, here's
and Keith Goss is known throughout the land by the name What's up, bitches?
Everybody knows him.
So happy
bitches
birthday.
60.
Happy birthday, Keith.
Yep. Cheers, Keith. Okay. Yeah, so I was on vacation. I went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, for a couple of days, and I was sitting on in a patio area. Whoa, we got some explosion going on here.
We got
got a beer explosion. And I was sitting on this patio drinking a local beer down there, and it was really cool. It was overlooking the bay and everything. And as I was sitting there watching this bay, it was about 4:00 in the afternoon. There was about 15 boats that showed up all of a sudden.
Well,
and
what was the tide doing?
Well, it was just starting to roll in.
You knew I was going to ask that question.
It was just starting to roll in, and I was telling my cousin, I'm like, look at all them birds sitting over there. I said, something's going on here. And then all of a sudden, these boats started showing up. I said, I'm telling you, something's going on here. And then birds took off into the air, and then they start flying around. They're flying all over the place. And man, just like that, they start dinging down there. And I'm like,
you're losing it,
son of a babe. Man, I gotta get out there, man. I gotta get out.
Stripers.
Stripers. They're all striper fishing. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
well,
it's
Corbin and I,
it was
Corbin
killer.
and
I was going to kind of kick this one off here because
Corbin and I had a different experience.
I mean, I'd like to let all you guys know that when we say we fish hard, we fishing hard. So let me just set the scenario for you. We had that massive cold front that we were talking about last weekend that came through. Gale force winds, and we're on Tune of the Tide with our good buddy Captain Mark Galasso out of Kent Narrows. And it ain't a question of if we going. We going. And we get out there and, we place our bets amongst ourselves, which is usually like first keeper fish,
$1.
Or $5, depending on the year. Biggest keeper fish,
$1.
okay, and exotic,
$1.
And we're kind of struggling, which is not our fault. It's not the captain's fault. I mean, there's like just waves.
Well,
everywhere.
it
You
was
can't see the birds. It was a massive cold front.
They have what they call small craft warnings for those of you who don't
Yeah.
fish coastal waters. They have small craft warnings, which aren't necessarily horrible.
Yep.
But then the next level up is gale force winds.
Yeah.
That's what we had.
Both days. And the best part was, we're all out there as a group. We're buddies. We're just having a good time. We're eating our Royal Farms chicken, having a Miller Lite, maybe a cigar.
Pemaquid oysters.
Pemaquid oysters. And
we are having a good time.
We're all kind of just busting each other's balls. And next thing you know, two-time Bass Master Classic qualifier, Georgia Core Jr. goes, "Oh my God." And he sets the hook on this fish. And he lands it. It's a 27.5-inch striper. So for those of you guys that are listening, I mean, this is a pretty good fish for this time of year down there. I mean, and we're only throwing like swim baits on light tackle, like bass gear and stuff. He gets the freaking fish in the boat and drops the rod and goes, "Pay me." And goes, "Pay me." And he wasn't talking about for the first fish, and then he was talking about for everything. So the best part, okay, wasn't just that, because that was the biggest keeper and the only keeper that we caught that day, which was not a fault of the keeper or the captain. Next day we go out, we overcome some boat challenges, but that's a whole other story. And I catch a keeper that's right on the nose of 19, and George doesn't like this.
No.
So George,
because the fish was an anemic line burner.
Right. So we threw it back for conservation purposes, but I'm like, oh, I got all George's money. And then the damn guy goes and catches a freaking flounder.
Exotic category.
Because he knew if he caught one in the exotic category, that he wouldn't have to pay me an extra $1. So not only did he catch a 27.5-inch striper, which was like, the trips that I've gone with you, probably in the top 5 biggest ones that we've caught on those.
Yeah.
I remember Mike caught a 31. I caught a 28. We caught some 27s at that. But then he catches a flounder. And the funny thing about this is the last time that we all went together with Captain Mark, right? George caught this 18-inch chrome redfish that nobody on the bay has seen in this stretch of the bay in like, 20 years, and George catches it.
He does. He's that way. He catches all the weird stuff.
Come up with the oddballs.
And I mean, I'm going to tie this bow up here. But for those of you guys that are wondering how we did striper fishing, we'll be back. I mean, we caught fish, we caught some schoolies, and we had some fun. But I mean, next week, it's freaking on, boys. It is freaking on.
We're going back.
We're going back. Yeah. So, and I get to go this time.
And Mikey's in.
And you know what? I didn't really miss that trip after I heard what was going on.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, I'm up there on the trolling there.
Yeah. So I felt pretty good about
it. Was nasty
being in Portsmouth, hanging out, drinking beer.
Yeah. But George did get to go flounder fishing, and he got to save himself 2 hours of drive time.
Yeah. So let's get into this. Let's get into some stuff here with Tackle Shop Live. We're gonna get into some cool stuff. We're gonna do some tournament talk real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, rusty fingers. Well, we always talk tournament talk because it's exciting for us. We're fans of the sport, and
junkies.
Man, I tell you, this is kind of wrapping it up, and towards the end, I think this is we started the last open.
Yeah.
For the season.
Well, it's a big deal because 6 Elite Series berths are going to be decided on Saturday.
Wow.
So you're going to have your Central Open top 3.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to get down to like 5 or 6 because of double qualifications.
Right.
So I mean, second place going into this tournament is an elite angler.
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to go down to third place.
Yeah.
And then third place is qualified through, I want to say, the Southerns. So they're going to get, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're kicked it off. Today's the first day. They're on Grand Lake.
Grand Lake.
In Oklahoma.
Yep.
And Grand Lake is a famous lake in Oklahoma. I mean, it's known for
Bassmaster Classics.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it's got a tremendous history to it, but it's known for quality fishing. Quality fish, lots of 3 and 4 pounders.
I saw
plenty of 5 pounders.
I saw somebody say that they didn't think it was going to take 15 pounds a day.
And somebody had a 6.9 today. I think I saw the line.
Wow.
Yeah.
And 19.1 was leading.
19.1. Oh,
so
there you go. Blew that guy out of the water.
It's interesting. It's interesting because they're starting to get into a fall mode there.
Yeah.
They're not quite as it's kind of cool about Oklahoma.
Aren't they like they're at our kind of our deal?
It's kind of cool. Their weather is not a whole lot different than ours.
Yeah.
It doesn't get quite as cold,
right?
But it's very parallel.
It is. It's very parallel.
I fished out there in the fall and the winter
mm-hmm.
and the early spring, and it was very, very complimentary to what would be going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe a tick warmer.
Yeah.
Plus, it's bigger bodies of water. They don't cool as quickly. I think this lake's a good 60 miles long.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I heard the weather's pretty cold in Norman right now with what's going on with the quarterback controversy with Spencer Rattler and everybody else. I mean, I'm just kind of saying for everybody from Oklahoma who's listening.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah. So
we have a couple interesting things that I saw, and we're not really going to talk about the techniques they're using because they're pretty tight-lipped on that right now. But Nick LeBron, who was leading the Smith Lake Open that we discussed last week for the first 2 days, he was leading it for the first 2 days.
Ain't he some young hammer or something?
He won the All-American a couple years
ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I think he won might have won the Forcewood Cup too. Don't quote me on that.
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah, but I know he definitely won the All-American.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's fishing all 9 opens. Obviously, goal is to make the elites.
Yep.
And last week he led the first 2 days. I mean, last week, the last tournament, which was on Smith Lake, he led the first 2 days, and he stubbed his toe on day 3. And old Jacob Porosnik came up out of the back of the pack and won the tournament.
That was great.
Earned his classic berth.
That was great to see that.
And helped his overall point standings a little more.
Yeah.
Now, so here's Nick LeBron. Right up in the mix. He had 17-12 today.
Oh, so he's right there.
He had 17-12.
Who's leading it? Did you say?
That we don't know.
Stand by.
The other thing that's interesting with that is the guys that have to do well in this tournament that are in the mix for these elite berths, guys like Cody Huff and Matt Pangrick, they did well today. The other thing, another guy that had to do well today, that did well today, was Daisuke Okai. Now, he won an Open earlier this year, and he's in the mix for an elite berth, and he had a nice day today, like 32nd place, roughly.
Yeah.
Porosnik had a good day today, 28th place to start the event.
Well, and just so you guys know, for those of you viewers out there, this weigh-in is still going on right now. Because I just looked and saw something, George. The leading bag is actually by Kenta Kimura, 21-14 now.
Oh,
nice.
Man.
And then John Suckup's at 19-1, Nick LeBron at 17-12. However, hold on, wait a minute. I seen him in 34th place with a 5-fish limit of 12 pound 2 ounces. Your boy.
Yeah, Spike Stoker.
Spike Stoker.
Spike Stoker had 12-2 today. So
Spike Stoker with 12-2.
We got the Spike Stoker watch going.
And Porosnik's at 11-6.
Yeah, Porosnik had 11-6.
42nd. So he's
pretty good. He's sitting good.
Yeah.
So we will be following days 2 and 3. Saturday will be live. So if you're not fishing on Saturday and you need to get your fix, this final day of the Bass Open will be live.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's going to be on FS1 or not.
I saw that they are going to be on FS1 on Saturday.
Okay, so FS1, and you can also watch the Bass Mix while it's on FS1. So that's going to be interesting.
I got a question, because we're talking about Grand Lake. We're talking about late October. All right. And this is right up some of the alley of what we talked about in the past couple weeks. But like for you guys, okay, what in the wide world of sports makes the wiggle wart work so good out at this lake at this time of year?
Rock.
I mean, like, can you like break down? Because I remember, George, when you and I were talking about possibly fishing that open series to go fish for the million at Table Rock, and there may be some listeners here with that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
And you're like, I am going to be cranking a wiggle wart all freaking day. I mean,
Well,
like what is the deal with that? Because it's kind of a unique fall pattern that we don't talk about, but
a lot of it
plays at these lakes.
A lot of it is, well, yeah, but a lot of it's like regional. You know, you have regional baits that are just known. I don't know, for whatever reason, the type of cover that goes on. Like the Susquehanna River has its baits. The Chesapeake Bay has its baits. Florida, they're down there. They throw certain baits down in Florida, and that's just the way it is. Well, out there in the Midwest, the Okies, those guys, man, it's all about the wiggle wart, the rock crawlers from Spro. It's got famous out there for the rock crawlers. All right, George?
Exactly.
And the only reason they made the rock crawler was because they were trying to copy the wiggle wart.
Well, and they talk about the old ones. You gotta get the old wiggle warts versus the new wiggle warts. And like, I mean,
well, a lot of those guys wear tinfoil hats, man. I'm just talking. I mean, I don't want to upset the cart here, but
I mean, custom painted wiggle
the butyrite level of the plastic, and a different sound. And that's all cool, and it makes because I got me a whole box of them.
And I was just gonna say, I mean, George got tinfoil hat on then too, because he's all crazy about his wood baits that he's getting.
I got an old box of wiggle warts and all about that butyrite. I got a really old box of Bomber Model A's, but I divulged too much information.
Well, there's a lot of guys who take the old baits, the original baits, very seriously, because they felt like they were better than the new plastic versions, or they were better than the guys who bought them out, because everybody buys these companies out. They do it a different way to make the baits more mass produced, so it's a lot different. So there's some differences. I remember when Pose, when Pose was first came out,
you mean
Cedar,
the Super Cedars, they were built from one company Pose was building, and then they got bought out
by Yakima,
and the bait totally changed.
Fell off the face of the earth.
Fell off the face of the earth. Nobody throws it anymore. It's just, but me and George, we have that box. If you want us to go get it, we'll get it. We have that box. It's loaded.
That's a show and tell piece.
It's loaded with original Pose that we used to throw back in the day, and you can see the differtions between the old ones and the new ones. It's very plain.
Well, to answer Corbin's question, the thing about Oklahoma, for those of you who haven't been able to fish out there, and why this crankbait and spinnerbait and chatterbait and jig is like the meat and potatoes of that type of fishing. These lakes are rock and wood, a little off-colored to a lot off-colored, depending on the rain, because it's a lot of red clay out there. And there's a good, strong, year-round, shallow water bite. Now, I'm not discounting the deep bite because, as we've discussed in the last few weeks, Mike, in our 3-part fall series, in the early to middle fall time zones, the deep bite is still in play. And a lake like Grand is famous for its deep brush piles, its drains, the deep drains. So I'm sure there's a bunch of guys out that are offshore fishing and cranking a big crankbait and dragging a football jig, and a Carolina rig, things of that nature. But the reason the wiggle wart and the Spro rock crawler, which really is kind of taken the wiggle wart's thunder,
Really has.
And other square bills, right? And slow rolling spinnerbaits.
I think the Wigglewort was the original square bill. Really?
Yeah, I mean,
if you really look at the design of it, it's
kind of like, to get technical,
it's kind of like the original square bill design. There was no other baits like it. They all have rounded lips.
If you've ever fished a Wigglewort,
I mean, look at the
if the Wigglewort's coming at you, the Wigglewort is a pivoter. So the Wigglewort pivots on the line tie. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of if you look at a Bomber Model A, for example, or if you look at, I call them alphabet plugs, the rounder bodied baits. They have the traditional roll. Yes, they're wobbling, but they have the body roll. Whereas the Wigglewort has that big pivot, moving a lot of water.
Yeah.
And it comes through rock real well. So that's kind of why it's a stout player out there. But now the rock crawler from Spro has really cut into the Wigglewort's legacy. The Spro rock crawler is absolutely a shallow water fisherman's, delight. And, by shallow, not like 1 to 3 foot shallow, but, 5, 6, 7 foot, those typical, that typical rocky off-colored kind of water. So,
and that oaky Midwest fishing is totally different. The water's totally different. The bottoms are totally different. They have a lot of clay out there.
A lot of red clay.
And
they get real dirty real quick.
They do get dirty quick out there. So I don't know, it's it just is what it is. And when you go different places, people say, oh, you got to have this for here and you got to have this for there. And
look at the spinnerbait out there, the red kicker blade.
Right.
The red kicker blade was born in Oklahoma. Okay. The red kicker blade with a Colorado or an Indiana combo was straight up born in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Because of the off-colored water. And when you go out there fishing, you better have some red kicker blades in your box. That's all I'm going to tell you about that.
Right? Yeah, and you can really see the difference here. I think I have a Wigglewort right here. But you can see the Wigglewort is kind of square on top and kind of has a squarish kind of lip to it. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can turn this the right way. Got a glare on that. Anyway, you can kind of see that. But this one is, if you look at the tops of these are very similar. This is a Spro here. This is a Spro rock crawler, and it has a taper. It has a taper and everything on the tail, very similar to the Wigglewort. Very, very similar to the Wigglewort. So that's why this one's really
they really pivot. They really hunt.
Yeah.
They're just great crankbaits.
They are.
I don't know where Caitlin's at. She's supposed to be putting this stuff up there. Caitlin.
I texted her.
And so that's kind of like the deal with that.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious too to see how many guys are fishing deep to shallow out there. Because
you're definitely going to have your deep. You're definitely going to have your deep.
Because that lake's noted for offshore, a lot of offshore structure,
a lot of drains.
Yeah.
They fish a lot of the little, what they refer to as a drain is basically a little creek channel coming out of a, if you go in the back of a deep cove that has a little creek coming into it.
Yeah.
Before they impounded that lake, that little creek rolled out through the countryside until it joined the river channel.
Yeah.
And that small little creek channel they call a drain.
Yeah.
It's basically the belly of the cove.
Yep.
The very bottom center V cut of the cove.
Who'd you say was winning, Corbin? Kota Kiriyama?
No.
You didn't say that, did you?
No. Hang on.
I'd love to see him get back in. I think he was trying to fish him.
Kenta Kamira.
Kamira. I don't know if he's a deep water guy or not.
I don't know. Caitlin says she has them pulled up already. You got to click on her.
Oh, she just did right now. Yeah, here's some. We're just going to run through some of them while we're talking. But good. Yeah. So what else is going on with that tournament, George? Anything else?
Well, I mean, it's early in the tournament. These guys are going to be real close to the vest. They're not going to be sharing a lot of info. So, but I think you're going to find, your real typical shallow water, patterns are going to play. You're definitely going to find the finesse guys doing well.
Yeah.
The wacky worm's going to play. The shaky head's going to play. The drop shot's going to play. Tomorrow we'll have a much better picture of it because some of the beans will get spilled. But that's where we're at. That's our big tournament talk section for tonight.
Yeah,
we're going to be following this one close. Another person online here, I believe it was.
I saw Leland Hansford gave you a shout out, George.
Oh, this isn't touchscreen.
No. I was gonna let you go for a while on that.
Can you bring it up a little bit? There was someone on here that made a comment about the KBF championship tournament. It might have been Jake Harshman. Yeah, right here. Jake Harshman had brought up, did you guys see the KBF national? Yes, Jake, I did. And it was really impressive.
George, silly thing out there for people listening. What's KBF stand for?
Because the KBF
people may not know. The
KBF National Championship is one of two major kayak trails.
Okay.
It started out as KBF. It's now sponsored by Yak Attack, so it's kind of known as the Yak Attack Trail. They fished the Susquehanna River here a few years ago for their national championship.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting. It kind of got me hooked on them.
Yeah.
But they are a big time deal. This kayak tournament thing is huge. So you have the Yak Attack KBF circuit. Another one of their big sponsors is DZ, the truck cat people.
Okay.
Truck accessory people. And the other one is the Hobie. They call it the BOS, the Bass Open Series, which is obviously Hobie. We just had one of those on the river,
right? And then they had one on the bay that Ike won.
Yep,
right?
They had one on the bay. So the Hobie Championship is in a couple weeks, and the young man that won the KBF is going to be a threat in the Hobie Championship.
Oh,
the Bass Open Series.
My money's on Charles Daltrey, man.
But I can't.
I mean, come on,
Jake,
Charles, don't let me down.
Jake, if you could put the name of that young man that won that. They were in Louisiana. They fished a variety of waters. If I'm not mistaken, they were allowed
300 inches.
Yeah. So
good God,
that's a 5-fish limit.
Oh, that's a 5-fish limit
for 3 days.
Okay.
So 100 inches a day.
Golly.
5 times what equals 100?
Yeah.
20.
Good fish.
God, that's good fishing.
Now, the young man that won
Where was that at? Where was it?
Louisiana.
Oh.
The young man that won this, here we are. Guillermo Gonzalez. So here's an interesting story on him. He's like 10 years as a kayak pro.
Oh.
He's his major sponsor is St. Croix Rod.
Okay.
And he's good. He's good.
Apparently.
But they were down in Bossier City, Louisiana.
Were they at Cross Lake?
They were they could fish Caddo, Red River, and Bistineau.
Okay.
And I pronounced all those wrong, and I apologize to all the wonderful people down in the bayou.
Eddie's getting rad. Eddie's like, George, if you don't get your mind right, you're not gonna get out of the bayou or the gators, boy. You better get you some good old gumbo and get your ass back to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's pretty true. But what was cool? What was cool was
he cracked himself up.
This Gonzalez guy, young guy, he caught all his fish on a spinnerbait. And what I always like, we're always harping on taking stuff away from this. Check this out. He was fishing tannic colored water, and he said he's been doing a ton of experimenting with spinnerbait in tannic colored water with copper and white blades. and he caught a ton of fish on those blades. But for the tournament, he found all white blades, got the bigger bite. So he threw the same spinnerbait on the same rod for 3 straight days. He threw that. Of course, he's sponsored by St. Croix, so he highlighted their rod. They make in their Legend tournament what they call the sweeper.
Yeah.
The sweeper.
They make a spinnerbait rod too, but the sweeper rod.
Well, the sweeper is a spinnerbait rod. It's a 7-foot, medium, heavy, moderate, fast.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so,
yeah,
and St. Croix does that. I mean, St. Croix gets real specific on their rods. And they have a design team there who I've met, these guys, and these guys are no joke. They are hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
And they built this sweeper spinnerbait rod for, a fast taper with a little more forgiveness to it. So you can go medium, heavy, moderate, fast. He threw that thing for 3 days. He said he caught hundreds of bass while he was down there on a spinnerbait. So
that's so much fun.
Well, yeah, it is. And it's also really highlights an excellent fisherman.
Yeah. How hard is that to stick with something, and figure it out and then make those little changes? It's tough.
He won the Lake Pickwick Hobie event also. Jake, that's good work there, Jake, because I remember that. I follow these kayak events real well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember that. That's where I first got his name from. So, hey, the next time you're fishing Tannic water,
white blades, baby. White
blades.
Yeah. White blades.
White blades.
There you have it.
So, and that's interesting because way back in the day, I threw white blades a lot, and I haven't thrown white blades in forever.
I throw chartreuse now instead of white.
Well, I had a day.
Well, this is a whole different thing here now.
Right. I had a day too, just like that. I was fishing, I was catching fish, and we were doing good, but they was very sporadic, and we were going through blades, and I ended up with a white bladed spinnerbait on. And I had one day out of all the days I thrown a white bladed spinnerbait where that was the bait. You didn't want to throw anything else. It was that much of a difference.
So, was it like a coleslaw? And
no,
did it have or did it have like a shad color skirt with white blades? Because a lot of the spinnerbaits that I see that have white blades have what's called like a coleslaw skirt where it's got like a little bit of orange, a little bit of chartreuse, maybe a little bit of green.
Made that
not like a shad flashy color skirt with white blades. That's why I was asking.
Believe it or not, and I hate to say this, I think it was a booyah.
Booyah!
I think it was a booyah that I threw, and I don't like their spinnerbaits.
I remember back,
but I did incredibly well on that thing.
I remember back years ago, in the 90s, I did a lot of river fishing. I used to do a lot of guiding on the river, and I had a whole pouch in my spinnerbait bag of nothing but white double willow blades that, for me, for smallmouth, came into play during the spawning season.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Somehow I got away from them, but
we talk about it all the time, though.
Well, guess what?
When we were fishing our tournament the other week, you were like, "We need to break out a spinnerbait with white blades."
I didn't see you digging too quick.
I was catching.
But guess what?
Oh God.
Guillermo Gonzalez has inspired me to break into my home stash of considerable quantity of old school spinnerbaits and dig out some whites, double white willows, and I'm gonna see what I can do.
I think we should throw them this weekend.
Yeah, I'm in.
To honor the win.
All right,
we're gonna honor the win by throwing the double white spinnerbaits.
Thanks for bringing that up, Jake. Yep. That really added nicely to our tournament talk session.
Yeah.
And I think we should, Mike. I think we should.
Let's go on.
Keep this bad boy rolling because we got a couple other.
Well, this is
segments.
Always our tournament talk always morphs into some other kind of talk, and I just like the.
That's why we do it.
I just like to fish and talk, and today we're going to talk fishing, just what we've been doing, what's been going on, how we've been changing stuff up for you guys, and kind of we're just going to talk fishing. Nick's been out fishing, we've been out fishing, everybody's been out fishing, so we're just going to kind of.
Nick's always out fishing.
Nick is always out fishing, but
I try.
But our fall season, is slowly rolling in. And you guys know we had the great conversations over the last 3 episodes on fall fishing. And anybody who didn't get into any of the fall fishing, you can go back. You can see the episodes, episode 1, 2, and 3. The first part is the front half of the fall. The second one is the middle of the fall, and the third one, of course, is the late fall and winter. So you guys can kind of follow through that. But it's this weather thing is what's driving us crazy. These fronts coming through, and it's always like this every year. You have these awesome, this awesome weather pattern, which is moving along great, and all of a sudden it just gets stinking hot.
Yep.
It goes stinking hot, and it just changes everything, and then it drops.
Not
down.
always for the worse.
Yeah. So that's what we're kind of dealing with here in the Northeast. We're dealing with these cold fronts, and then warm trends, and then cold fronts and warm trends, and it makes it challenging, especially when you're catching fish.
Well, Mike, to your point there, if you look at around the country, everybody's having the same kind of fall.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a cold front.
Yeah.
And not everybody.
Yeah.
In Idaho, they're in snow shovel mode. Okay. No offense to Brandon Polnick, but
he was tuna fishing this week.
Idaho is no bueno.
Yeah.
But everybody else is kind of you get a nice little cold front, you get a little bit of a fall type feel, and then it warms back up. Hell, it was 76 degrees here today.
Yeah. It was
it's going to be 64 here on Sunday, and down out at this Central Open, it's supposed to cool off there as well.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So the spinnerbait bite for us has been real good. A lot of guys catching fish on spinnerbaits, and rattle traps. Rattle traps have been working really well also. So for us, that's some of the things we've been throwing. And then the jerkbait bite for Corbin, huh? Corbin's been smoking them on jerkbaits, man.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah. So the jerkbait
really
bite's
good.
coming around real well, and you can see a lot of the movement of the fish spreading out, and we're using these baits to cover a lot of water, and that's a trick right now, is just to cover a ton of water and just figure out something that they're biting, and then just cover a lot of water.
Don't rule anything out.
Well, don't rule anything out. And the other thing is, like, when how do I say this? There's a saying out there that's popular right now. If you know, you know. And like, for me, that's what I'm doing. Like, if you know where the fish are going on your lake, and they're pulling in there, or a river, and you start catching them there, they are coming. Okay. Yeah. Just because you get that sudden temperature drop, like this morning, it was like 49 degrees when I launched. Today, when I got off, it was like 77. Okay. The water temp dropped 3 degrees overnight from yesterday, as it usually does this time of year.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, like our winter series, our fall series. But the only thing I did was just rip the jerkbait faster to get those aggressive fish. I mean, when they're there, they are going to eat, because it's that time of year.
Yeah.
And
you got to make them eat.
You got to make them eat.
You got to make them
eat. Like with the rattle trap, what's funny is I ripped the jerkbait harder. I reeled the rattle trap slower.
Yeah.
So like, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And for me, that's one of the things that's what I've been doing a lot lately. Just varying it up. But when you intercept that migration route, and those fish are coming there, and where they're at, and how they migrate, that's where you need to be right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, one of the things that I'm living on right now, and intend to live on for a long while, in my largemouth fishing, is a jig.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is my time of the year where I'm swimming, flipping. I mean, I'm incorporating a jig early and often. A finesse jig, a full-size jig, swimming a jig is absolutely deadly. These fish are focused on feeding up. They're on bait, a white swim jig. is a major player, and it by no means is my only technique, but if I had if I had to highlight something, that when I put the boat in the water and I flip open the rod locker, I reach in there and I dig out 3 or 4 jig rods.
So
okay.
And George, I'm going to kind of pick your brain a bit on this, because this is a great thing. I know we said we wanted to talk about, and I'll talk about some things I do with the jig too. But like, how does your jig differ this time of year, fall and versus summer? Mainly like this time of year. You talk about swimming a jig. You're talking about white. We've talked about swim jigs in previous sessions. When Brian Schmidt was on, he talked about swim jig. Like for me, my question for you is like, right now, you got that fall season. Are you going 3/8 for the slower fall and a bigger bait for bulk? Or are you going to like a full-size rage crawl that has action? Like break down the jig, your ideal jig with your ideal trailer for all around circumstances.
Well, my swim jig right now is featuring a swim bait.
Okay.
So I'm not on a twin tail trailer. I'm throwing a boot foot swim bait. I'm throwing, take your pick, a diesel minnow. One of my favorites is the Reaction Innovations Little Dipper. The Kayak obviously plays. I'm a big fan of the Rhythm Wave from Jackal, because
that's a good bait.
It's kind of like the Kayak, but it holds up a little better for me.
It does. You're right. It does.
But the swim bait, the boot foot swim bait trailer on my swim jig is real critical. As far as weight goes, I'm fishing shallow, so 3/8 of an ounce on my swim jig.
So
key.
So with like that boot foot trailer, and you specifically said to you're not using the twin tail grub, you're going with the boot foot. Are you using that so that as these grass beds that you've been fishing for years, or all year, as they start to die off, you can just let that bait fall in the water column more and still tick the tops? Or
no?
Like, why are you going with that boot foot?
Because they're eating shad. They're eating the local bait. They're eating, on the tidal waters, they're eating perch.
Yep.
And to me, the boot foot trailer gets bit. Well, I mean, I experiment. As we've said many times when we've talked about swim jigs and chatterbaits, the trailer is almost as important as the color of the jig or any other factor, because sometimes those fish will totally key on a floppy double-tailed type trailer, a claw,
yep,
a crawl claw, or a twin tail, and other times they will absolutely smoke a boot foot. And what I've been noticing lately is that boot foot. Now,
right,
I had some fishing earlier that was river fishing for smallmouth that we talked about in depth here, where the boot foot trailer was not producing. It was getting short strikes. And we always talk about making the adjustment on your trailer as being more important than anything, being the boot foot or the double, the crawl, or the curl tail, twin tail. It's all the same thing to me. And we were, when we're getting that short strike, that missed opportunity, ripping the tails off the trailer, we go to the crawl style, double tail style, rage crawl, turbo crawl, something
speed crawl,
that's got that double kick to it.
Yep.
We go to that, and you're going to know real quick when you make the trailer adjustment. You're going to know if you're getting bit and missing fish and you make that adjustment, you're going to know real quick. And
right,
in the case of when I went from, I was catching them on the swim bait, and then Mike and I ran into a situation where we were getting just exactly what we just described. And we went to the crawl style trailer. There was no mistaking it, because they were choking on the thing.
So George,
but now it's back the other way.
So
for me, I'm fishing.
So this is going to be an interesting question for you. Because we have absolutely talked. This has been like the year of the chatterbait.
Oh yeah.
Aside. So like
that's one of the jig rods that I get out every morning.
Right. So what's funny is now you're talking about a jig, and you're talking about specifically a white swim jig with a boot foot trailer. So there's listeners out there that are probably like, well, I'm just going to throw a chatterbait. So like George, like in the fall,
and you should.
Why would you go with that swim jig boot foot trailer over a chatterbait? And like, you know, can you give me like a specific example, a story, maybe for the listeners out there?
Well, there's a lot of things that come into play there. And for example, the last time Mike and I fished, the chatterbait just was not generating bites.
Right.
It was real simple. The chatterbait should have been generating bites. I spent a hell of a lot of time.
There was really no reason for it.
Yeah, it was not getting bit. So I mean, you know, we're not going to read into the tea leaves any further than that. We're going to pick up a swim jig,
right?
Okay, and also a spinnerbait.
Yep.
But you have to make a decision at some point and make the change,
right?
And like I've always said, if you're around fish and you make the decision to make the change, you're going to know real quick.
Yeah.
And as soon as those fish start getting hooked, you made the right adjustment. Now, I mean, don't think into it any deeper than that. This is not like high-tech science here. This is, you know, making an adjustment that appeals to the fish. So the chatterbait is not getting bit, throw the swim jig.
Are you burning it 8-1? I mean, are you 7-1? Like, are you still slow reeling?
You have to experiment. You can't. If you go into the day with a preconceived notion on how you're going to reel your bait in, you're going to miss the whole thing. I mean, you have to experiment. You have to go with a slower retrieve. You have to. A lot of times, the cover dictates the retrieve.
Right.
You know, one of the areas that Mike and I fished on our last outing was heavy hydrilla with just a little bit of water over top of it. That's pretty simple how you're going to retrieve that one. Whatever you got to do to keep it over top of that grass, because the grass was solid.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of times your cover is going to dictate your retrieve. Other times, not getting bit is going to dictate your retrieve. You know, if you're just a robot and you do the same thing all day long, you expect the same outcome.
So George, like, you know, and I know like you had several things you want to talk about with the jig. You kind of touched on the swim jig here, right?
Yeah.
How about the other jig? You know, primarily, I'm going to ask you two specific jigs to break down. I'm not asking for manufacturers or colors. I mean, I know you're going to go into trailers, but like, talk about the power of a finesse jig right now, and talk about the power of, like, you know, just a regular jig, maybe with rattles, maybe without. I mean,
well,
if you got 4 jig rods out, from what I hear, your first one's going to be a chatterbait.
Yep.
Your second one's going to be a swim jig.
Yep.
What are these other two?
So my other two
and what are your
jigs
trailers?
are for picking cover apart.
Okay.
When I want my vertical fall. Remember, when you're fishing a jig, remember 90+% of your fish are going to come on that initial drop. Okay. So the finesse jig and the flipping jig are all about that drop. So the weight of that jig, you know, is really important. Typically in the fall, the fish are, you know, a little more aggressive usually. So the fall rate is not, you know, it doesn't have to be a real heavy jig. But on those days when those fish are not aggressive due to a front, that's when I'm going to downsize to my finesse jig. I fish a 15-pound fluorocarbon.
I was going to ask about line.
I fish most of the time these days, I'm fishing a greenfish tackle, itty bitty finesse jig. It's a stand-up style head. It skips extremely well. Yep. It's a mixture of silicone and living rubber. It's got a traditional finesse cut skirt. And, you know, I will vary my trailer on there from a crawl style. It pairs up really nicely with a baby rage crawl or a baby menace bug. And I'll also put a chunk on there. Yeah. I'll put a chunk on there, and a lot of times I'll thread the chunk on to keep that jig compact.
Yep.
But that, you know, that is if I'm not getting bit when I should be getting bit. And then again, if you're around fish, you're going to know real quick. Okay. My standard jig, you know, is my standard 3/8, half ounce, full size jig. Again, I throw a wide variety of brands. One of my favorites, I'm on a greenfish tackle kick, as I've mentioned for the last year on Tackle Shop Live, and that Brandon Cobb all-purpose jig has really caught my fancy. But I'm also fishing some dirty jig. I'm fishing some Strike King Hack Attack jig, the Finesse fluorocarbon jig. And I just want that bigger profile. You know, I want that full size, full skirt. I do trim it. We have a great video on YouTube on how we trim a jig skirt for flare. I think it's really important that you guys visit that. I like a chunk that is, you know, hooked up pork chunk style where I just punched a chunk. Pay real close video, pay real close attention to that video, how we use a piece of plastic worm as a spacer. That's really, really important.
And it provides scent, doesn't it?
I mean, it could. I'm not a big scent guy.
Maybe I shouldn't say.
So what I'm doing is I'm just basically flipping and pitching any and all. You know, we were talking about this Grand Lake, Oklahoma. You know, I fished a tournament out there, a really important tournament out there for me years ago. It was a national championship, and I fished with a black and blue jig with a Zoom chunk for 3 days. And I literally hit every square inch of the area that I was fishing. And that's what a jig is when they're not chasing, you go in and you dig them out. You dig them out, you make them eat, and, you know, you have to experiment with that finesse jig. And right now, this time of the year, I like fishing a jig. The classic jig bite, the tink and the jumping of the slack is a big part of the
adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it's a big part of it for me. And you know, I like the rods that I fish my jig on. They're light. I'm in my happy place.
He's getting jiggy with it, boys.
You know,
Yes,
Sunday I'll be up on the front deck of my boat on my trolling motor with all my jig rods laid out and jigs all over the damn place
with your 3 sponsorship graph companies.
Oh yeah,
yep.
and I'll be having fun, and I'll be in my happy place. And you know, we're talking fishing tonight, and we're each talking like what we're doing. And one of my big deals is a jig.
Did you see that crazy ass freaking rig? That new rig,
the one where you pull it and the worm kind of does like an S. And I did. I watched some videos on that this week, and you know, just like everybody else, an idea pops in your head, like where that might work. If it might work,
ain't no
how
way
much
hell.
of a pain it would be to fish it.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I think in a really tough spot, maybe midsummer, you know, high pressured areas, like if you're in the middle of the flat and a lot of guys are, you know, struggling to get a bite, it's something they never seen before. That's all I can say. I don't know if it would work. Never tried it, but I've seen it in a tank.
I got a rig for that too, Nick.
Good.
When that happens like that,
1.5 ounce weight,
250 Yamaha, and go somewhere else.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I do think there is something
Pump
to
the
be
brakes,
said.
people.
Yeah.
I really do think there's something to be said for some of these rigs that are coming out, because there's a rig that's starting to really work at Blue Marsh, and it's the free rig.
Yeah.
And, you know, I haven't tried it.
Yeah. Guys are talking about that all
and
all
I might poo-poo it, you know, and say, you know, a jig. I love a jig. I'm a jig guy too.
Yeah.
But it's working.
Yeah.
So do I get on that train? You know, you always gotta try stuff, I guess.
Well, if you ever fished a Texas rig and you didn't peg your weight,
it's the same thing.
You may have fished a free rig. Just saying.
There you go.
Well, I mean, this thing is just freaking crazy. And the reason I know it's going to be the hottest freaking thing in the world is because I'm going to be the last one to get on board with this. This is a crazy freaking rig.
Well, don't worry, they'll be making worms already tubed up for it.
Well, I heard George tried it last week on his Panoptics, and every fish swam in the complete opposite direction. No, I'm sorry.
Well, you know,
sorry.
Corbin, I'm glad you brought up Panoptics.
Not true.
I know.
You know, Mike, you're bringing up this
fishing,
rig. And what's it called?
It's eye
candy.
No, it's shit.
Well, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because Corbin brought up.
It's something longer than that. I think they're probably narrowed it down to IQ rig or something.
But Corbin brought
what's
up
the full name of that, Andre?
Panoptics, and I think that's
right there. NU rig. INUR.
That's it.
NU rig.
That's it, St. Crest.
Yeah. And when he brought up the Panoptics, I thought
crazy.
it was something, because when the Panoptics first came out, I was one of the guys going, I don't need that. You don't need that.
Yeah.
You know, this and that. All these rigs, all this technology, everything. Because as fishermen, we don't really like change that much.
Yeah.
It seems to work.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Might not work in your lake.
Yeah.
Because the Alabama rig doesn't work everywhere.
No, right. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I am the slacker on these rigs because I'm just traditionalist.
Yep.
I'm set in my ways, and there's like hell, I haven't even thrown the
Ned rig.
the Tokyo rig.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Mikey.
I just caught up on a Ned rig, and I haven't thrown a Tokyo rig yet. And those guys are killing them on the Tokyo rig.
Killing it. When I was down in Florida, and you know, we were punching.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys were punching with a lot of these new rigs.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't even know what they were doing.
You know where I kind of thought this rig might work is at bed and fish.
Right.
You know, putting it on the bed and then doing that little snaky, tantalizing, snaky action. You know,
You ever
that
try
little...
fishing bed and fish around here?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying,
George,
because you can't see the damn things around here.
well,
I know
it's
that.
illegal to fish.
But
in
you're
Pennsylvania.
right. You're right. That
I
would definitely work there.
think I just think, but I don't know who the hell thinks this stuff up. It's unbelievable.
Well, a lot of this stuff
They
comes.
must wake up in a
lot of this
in a
stuff
cold
comes from
sweat.
Japan.
Right.
You know, they're fishing all these heavily pressured bodies of water.
Yeah,
Very finessey.
yeah.
Pound
And
test.
you know, a lot of these rigs are
Well, this thing
like-
is freaking nuts, man.
created by these finesse gurus. And then you know, in this day and age, in the bass industry, there is quite a bit of, you know, American tournament anglers traveling to Japan in the off season to work with their sponsors. It's you know, this is a big business, and all your top pros who are sponsored by companies who have Japanese roots, they're over in Japan for multiple days of on the water work with their sponsors.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not all Japanese companies. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, Berkeley and Rapala all have Japanese divisions, as well as, of course, the obvious Japanese companies. And a lot of these rigs are shown to these pros while they're fishing on these couple-day trips, and they're saying,
yeah.
I gotta bring that one back to, and that's how a lot of these rigs came back to the country, and the curve is speeding up because these trips are more frequent now, right?
Well, the other
Concorde's
interesting
gone,
thing.
so I don't know if it's faster. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Concorde's
it's just
been retired.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing that George is, I think you're exactly right, George. But the other thing that's happening is, you remember the pros used to keep a lot of little tips and techniques secret. But with the advent of all this social media, Instagram, and everybody wants to put that new cool thing out
Plus,
there.
there's cameras everywhere.
And yeah.
I mean, we watch live fishing.
Mm-hmm.
What are they hiding from us?
I gotta tell you,
Right.
Why are they
I'm not going to throw the damn thing
how
until
do you
somebody wins a
hide
tournament or something.
what
on
you're
it.
doing
It
in
ain't
a
happening.
Bass Elite tournament when you have a cameraman who's getting paid bonus money to catch certain shots? So, I mean, that to Nick's point, this secret deal it's not so easy anymore, right? But yeah, Mike is going to be the last guy.
I'm not going to throw it until somebody goes, man, like, you're the only guy in the world not throwing this thing, and I don't know, but that's the way I am. I'm just being honest with you.
But as fishermen,
I don't pick
we
this
want
stuff up
to-
as quick, you know.
You know, a lot of us as fishermen, we want to experiment.
We want to push the envelope.
We want to experiment. We want to try, you know, to modify. We do a lot of tinkering.
First of all,
You know,
I thought rigging up an Alabama rig out in the water was like a terrible, horrible thing to do because it takes you an hour to do it. Can you imagine doing this out there trying to figure, you know what
And
I mean?
it's light line. You catch a fish, and then you got to retie.
And then
all
they're
over
saying
again.
about putting that split ring on the tail. Well, first thing you do when you set the hook, you're going to tear that out. It's going to get torn out. The whole thing's going to get ripped up, right, bro?
It's definitely
it sounds
you
to
know,
me like we're
it's
going to
one of
sell a
them-
lot of split rings.
one of them rigs that if it works, like they're saying it might,
Yeah,
they're going to probably make baits that are specially designed for
Sure.
it.
They're
and
gonna have
this and
to.
that, you know.
Sure.
it does look cool.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of looks like a toy I might get my kid for Christmas or something.
Oh God.
Well, maybe the Tackle Shop Live guys ought to take a moment and get on a boat and see it out.
See what it's doing. Did you guys talk about our tournament last
Oh,
Yeah.
last week?
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean
Did you break it down?
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Well, we
Yeah,
didn't exactly.
we covered all that.
We covered it down, and we
Yeah,
pretty much.
We covered it real well.
You did?
Yeah, like we.
That's old news, bro.
Well, I got guys asking about it here.
Well, you know, they should have been watching last week.
Okay, so you guys who were asking about our fishing tournament the other week, you can go back on last week's episode. I didn't watch the whole episode. Sorry, guys. I did watch some though.
I know. We saw you chime in with your lobster.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
Did you hear how it ended? Did you hear how the episode ended?
George
gave you a very respectful.
I
salute.
heard it. I heard it.
Yep.
I was just checking on you.
We missed you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yep. There was a lot more side effects played when I was running the board.
All
So,
right.
Mike, you know,
All right, so let's get into some stuff.
Corbin
here.
was talking about a jerk bait. I'm talking about a jig. What is your right now? You know, in your last, let's say your last 3 or 4 fishing trips, fall related. What's been kind of your 1-2 punch? What do you-
I mean,
what
for
do you-
me,
I know because I already. I know where you're going with this.
well, I mean, you know, for me, it's all about, you know, moving, constantly moving, doing things, changing up. And this is the time of year. It's funny because everybody laughs when we say that we have 25 rods spread out all over the freaking deck. This is what we do this time of year. You have 25 rods spread out all over the deck, and we're just mowing through them. You know, we're mowing through them, but we do settle in. I kind of, when I'm fish, I kind of settle in. If I get a bite, I'll kind of start putting it together, and I'll settle in on a bait until it proves me wrong, or until, somebody else, because I always fish with somebody, and then somebody else will be throwing something different, but I'll kind of settle in on something and kind of cover it, but I'll keep tweaking it and changing, but I love throwing a spinnerbait right now. I knew
you were going spinnerbait.
I just having a lot of fun throwing it. I'm catching fish on it. I love throwing the,
well, let me ask you a spinnerbait question before you go to your next bait.
Yeah.
So, obviously you and I fish together a lot.
Yeah.
And I notice with your spinnerbait fishing that you're a big blade adjustment guy, particularly this time of the year.
Yeah.
So, what is making you go Colorado/Indiana versus Willows versus Colorado Willow? Because I know you kind of rotate. You probably don't fish a tandem Colorado Willow as much as you used to, but I see you go a lot from double Willows to either probably I would say, let's break it down to 2. You're either chucking a double Willow or you're chucking a Colorado Indiana. And what is the deal?
Yeah.
Because this time of the year, I see you going back and forth a lot.
Well, this time of year, you're getting a lot of different types of water. You're getting these fronts coming through like crazy, and they're staining up the water. You're getting dirty water days. You're getting clear water days. And then the other thing with the willow leaves too is, and you saw me do this, is changing up the blade size all the time. I'm changing the blade size on the willow leaf. So I might throw a white spinnerbait. I might be throwing a white spinnerbait, but then I'll go, double 33s, double 44s, or 4 and a 4.5, or double 4.5
for bigger bait.
For bigger baits, just depending on when and where and how the bait is, and what you're kind of matching the hatch with. And then those times where I'm switching up to Colorado, Indiana is usually a dirty water deal. Is usually a slow rolling deal.
Yep.
Because the longer I think I find myself, the colder the water, the more I slow roll, and the more I slow roll, the more of the Colorado, Indiana I throw, because I love that combination for slow rolling. It doesn't lift, it gets down, it allows you to follow the contour, and I really feel like, when I'm fishing a lake, a lot of these local lakes and stuff, those fish in the mornings, they might be real deep off the sides, and then as soon as the sun pops up, they'll roll up close into the cover and get tight on the cover. So it's really good to be able to throw up shallow and then roll that spinnerbait all the way down to 10, 12, 15 feet. And I fish, and George and I fished the 1/2 ounce and 3/4 a lot. I wouldn't say right this second, but it's coming up on it. You know, it's coming up real quick. And
I throw that Colorado, Indiana 3/4
yeah,
a ton.
yeah. And I think it works better this time of year when, like I keep talking about the half leaf mark, you know, when there's most of the leaves are falling off and you're looking at water temperatures in the mid to low 50s. That's when that slow rolling for me really kicks in. And for clear water. Now, the dirty water, I'm throwing it right now. I'm throwing that combination right now. I'll even go to double Colorados, you know, if I need that extra little vibration or whatever. If I want a vibration or more thump, I'll change up a little bit. But that Indiana, Colorado, man, that dirty water.
But it's not hard and fast because what was interesting about the tournament that you and I won a couple weeks ago was we were in dirty water.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't eat our round blades.
They wouldn't eat it.
They were bumping them, but they wouldn't eat them. And we went to a
double
Clearwater willow leaf, silver trailing willow leaf, Clearwater white spinnerbait.
Yeah, it was a white spinner. But white does work good in
it does
work good in dirty water.
It does, but our blade combination was a Clearwater blade. And guess what? They choked it.
They were eating it.
Because it matched the shad.
Yeah, really did.
So don't be too locked in on your always be flexible.
Always mess it up.
You know, like the discussion on the jig trailer.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, don't get so locked in that you miss the fact that maybe the reason they were short striking our spinnerbait with Colorado, Indiana.
Yeah.
They were choking the double willow. They were short striking my jig chatterbait with the swim bait, but they were choking the crawl. So you don't get too locked in.
Don't
overthink it.
You don't ever want to do that.
Yeah. So what was the other bait you were going to bring up that you've been throwing here lately? I know you've been doing the spinnerbait, but there was another bait you wanted to mention.
Well, we've thrown the Ned rig.
Yeah.
You know, the Ned rig, you know,
we're not one to throw a spinning rod, but you know what? You better have it out on the deck.
It's the craziest damn thing in the world. You know, honestly, right up front, Corbin, right up front, it's the last thing I'm going to throw.
Right.
This time of year. But it's a sleeper bait this time of year, you know, and it's a bait that will save a day. Huh?
Yeah. You have to have it on your deck.
And you got to have it ready to roll. And if you think that son of a bitch doesn't catch big fish,
oh, it does.
You're out of your mind. It's a big fish catching machine. And, you know, and that's why then here I get back to it. 25 rods on the deck is not out of control.
Well,
it's not.
You know, and we're all power fishermen.
It's not.
You know, we're all
I just keep mine in my rod locker, but yeah.
You know, we're all power fishermen, but and we kind of like turn our nose up to finesse fishing. But you know what? When you're around fish, especially fish you've been beating on for a while, you better get the spinning rod out. You know what I mean? And put on a finesse bait. And for us right now, all three of us,
listen,
TR
the thing everybody has to do is you have to master all the techniques. You have to be able to have an open mind to all the techniques. I can't tell you how many times people come in and they're so one-way street. And there's a lot of anglers that are just one way. They're a crankbait fisherman. I love throwing a crankbait. I love throwing a spinnerbait. I love throwing a chatterbait. I throw this, but I throw a Senko all the time. How many guys come in here and that's all they throw is the freaking Senko? But you're limiting, Corbin, right?
Yeah. You're limiting the ability to maximize your potential.
Exactly. And so all I'm saying is that if it takes 25 rods to put on your deck to do it, then that's what you do. And I am the laziest person.
Now, do you get all 25 rods out just so you could admire them, or?
Well, that too.
Get the dust off.
It was a long time collecting those rods, and I do appreciate it.
Now, do you often step on them a lot?
But
during the day?
And I break I break stuff up all the time. But
are they all spooled up?
And I know I'm a lazy fisherman. I am a lazy fisherman, and I hate to stop and tie. I hate it. I hate taking that 5 because that's 10 casts. That's 5 casts. That's 4 casts. Whatever it is. You ask George.
I know.
I mean, so I'm digging rods up, and then I'll have 4. And Corbin's the same way. We'll have 4 or 5 rods broken off, and then we'll stop and retie them. I have to tell you, tie 4 of them because it's just like we're out of everything we want to throw.
Unless the jerkbait bites on, then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna check the kink in that line and retire.
Yeah, right. Well,
or
there's times-
chatterbait, or
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
if it's a Ned rig, yeah.
I just want everybody to know that
It's hard to sit
you
down
know,
and tie those rods up.
the jerkbait, like Corbin said, he's dialed in on that thing right now. He is really catching a lot of fish. He has a lot of confidence in it. George is throwing a jig right now. This is what he likes to throw this time of year. He's dialed into it. He loves it. And here I am talking about spinner baits and Ned rigs, but I'm throwing the spinner bait and I'm throwing a jig.
Well,
And I'm throwing a Ned rig.
and we're all throwing, and we're all throwing,
trap too.
we're all throwing top waters. We're all
Yeah.
throwing crank. You know what we were talking about before we came on air tonight? We're all spending an unusual amount of time on a rattle trap, and we wanted to talk traps with you.
I guess
But
we got next week's show.
We're gonna table that to either next
we
week
got
or
to
the
keep
week
moving on
after.
here. Yeah,
Because when we do traps, we're going to do all the traps.
we're going to go all in on it.
We're going to bring in boxes of traps that weigh in the poundage range, and we're going to break them down for you.
All right. Speaking of breaking things down, Corbin.
No.
Yeah. We are going to talk and we're going to break down some jerk baits, and we're going to do that right now. So this is our tackle breakdown section. You know, what's new, what's hot, what's not, and we thought we would discuss the Berkeley Stunna jerkbait. We talked about when we released it. We talked about it, and we just wanted to kind of go one more step on it and just say that what this bait's all about, so that you can you can see and fish it for the potential of it. I am so excited to throw this. It's not the temperature yet for me to throw this bait, but it's getting really close for that for me, And the key to this bait is they make it two ways. First of all, they make a 112, which is in their regular version, and you can see the lip right here. That's your, your traditional 4 or 5 footer.
Gets down to about 6 foot.
Yeah. So I think the maximum on that's 6 foot.
And that's with a lighter line and longer cast.
Yeah, but so it's a really good 4 or 5 foot bait. You can work it. You can work it along pretty good, and it'll run real good. And it's got square shoulders to it, so the shoulders are squared off. They're not rounded shoulders; they're squared off shoulders. So you're going to get a real deep cut on this. So what I mean by that is this bait's designed to do a 180, and I mean these hooks are
fusion trouble. Old David Fritz, I got that one right.
These baits are designed to do a 180. And a 180 on the jerks, and that's the big square flat sided.
Yeah.
Right. And the other lip that they have is they have the 112 plus. I'm telling you, these hooks are
+1,
catching everything. I can't wait to throw them. They're going to catch fish just throwing them in the water. This is the +1 version. This has a deep lip, and this one will get down about the 10
foot
range. So this is the maximum range on this is a 10 foot. But again, it has the square shoulders, flat side, and you're going to get that real good 180 bump on it. The other thing with this, Corbin, which I think we're really going to like, is this is a slow sinker. Okay. A slow sinker, when you stop and pause it, this one's just barely going to fall at a really slow rate. So to me, in my mind, when I'm dead sticking, this is going to be a key bait for me when the water's super cold and I need to get it in their face and I need to get down. And this bait right here is really going to allow me to get down in their face along with fluorocarbon. We're going to be scratching the bottom a lot with this thing, it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be chasing George down all the time, hanging up, man, because that's what he does. But we just want to touch base with this. What do you got?
Well,
Gordon?
the color selection too.
The color selection's awesome. And Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. I guess I'm going to be transparent here.
Yeah.
I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone, knowing what I'm catching fish on right now.
Yeah.
And I will have a stellar review on this by next week.
Yeah.
Because as a jerkbait fanatic, I mean, it hasn't been the right time for me to throw it yet, but I'm going to fish it to see how it compares to what I'm catching fish on right now.
Yeah.
Slow sinking fluorocarbon.
I'm the same thing. I just haven't thrown it yet because for me, it's a colder water. It's a 50s, mid to low 50s and into the 40s. It's really going to be stellar in the 40s. It's going to be
Well,
the bomb big time.
you know,
but these colors, look at some of these colors, George.
Oh, the colors are awesome.
I mean, they got a freaking orange one here that's like out of control. They got all the favorite colors, and they're just you know, and they're Hank Cherry's deal. It's Hank Cherry's baby right there.
Yep. Well, and one of the things in the jerkbait world over the last several years, you know, credit to the tournament, the high level tournaments, particularly the Elite Series. You know, they have proven to us that jerkbait, which was always pigeonholed as a pre-spawn, back in like fall to pre-spawn, the jerkbait's always been known as a fall to pre-spawn, you know, specialty bait, which it is. Okay. But you know, if you just look at the Elite Series over the last several years, if you look at Hank Cherry and what he's known for, you know, year-round power fishing with a jerkbait. I mean, he caught key fish in the Classic. The water temperature was smoking.
Well, and George, Patrick Walters, to your point, another guy.
Patrick Walters. And another thing that's pushing this jerkbait resurrection is forward-facing sonar. I'm you know, as we've talked many times, Mike and I have spent a lot of time this year looking at our forward-facing sonars.
Absolutely, had some great experiences with it.
We put one on a jet boat.
Had some horrible experiences with it.
We've put one on. We put one on my Skeeter. We put one on a jet boat. We have been fishing this thing from in the dirt to I was up at the St. Lawrence with Ryan Buttermore from Mega Bass, and we looked at all the fish we caught on it.
Yeah.
But the jerkbait is one of the best forward-facing sonar baits out there, because you can look at that fish, you can position a cast.
Yeah.
Like, you know where to cast.
Yep.
And
yeah,
I mean, let's face it, a lot of these forward-facing fish are up off the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, the small
suspenders,
the small ball head swim bait,
yeah,
and the jerk bait are dominating forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
So my point is, you know, jerk baits are being expanded to 12-month-a-year baits, and the techniques that we, you know, mastered on the jerk bait, we're branching out and we're fishing power style now.
We are power fishing.
And this bait right here really rips good. I mean,
it is a ripping bait.
You could crank on this bad boy.
And I think the slow fall on it, you can keep it at a really excellent level for a long period of time, because it's kind of weighted down a little bit more. So if you want to keep it at 6 feet, you could just keep ripping that thing, keep moving it, and it just stays right there. It doesn't rise up on you. It doesn't roll over, because it has a little bit of extra weight to it. And it has a tungsten. This has your tungsten transfer system, but it also has a tungsten weight plastered right in the middle of it, which kind of adds a little bit of extra weight.
It's a half-ounce bait.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's really solid and heavy. I'm really excited for this bait.
It's got a great set of hooks on it. You know, you don't have to change out the hooks. It's got the right set of colors, the 2 depth ranges. So it's pretty primo.
And you can see here on the screen, these are all the different colors, and you can see there's tons of different colors. There's orange, there's beautiful, there's all their standard colors, but they got some pretty funky colors that will match any condition or any kind of thing that you guys
Stunna shed.
And
hanky panky stick out to me.
Yeah, I like the one that's I like this one right here. This one right here, I pulled this one off because I wanted to read the name. This one is and everybody else, it's what do they call that?
Well, not everybody else. The company that invented it.
Yeah, what do they call it?
Elegee Bone.
Elegee Bone. So it's a
Strike King. It's the strobe shad.
Yeah, strobe shad. It's a
shad fillet.
This is called shad fillet, but if you look at it, it's the bone pattern. Everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me blow this back up. I think Kate can bring it up. Can you bring up shad fillet, Kate? Click on shad fillet. But it's really cool. There it is right there. It's a really cool bait, and everybody else calls it something, but I love their name, shad fillet. So they got some great names for them, their stuff. This one here is an orange one. It's called Blaze. You don't see a jerk bait in orange.
And Mike, one of the things I wanted to say about this particular jerk bait, I took it up to New York when I was fishing up the St. Lawrence. And, you know, with these jerk baits, we're trying to cast them in clear water as far as we can.
Yeah.
And I used to use the Smithwick all the time, and
Yeah.
it's not one of the most cast friendly ones.
No.
Then, Mega Bass came out, and it was a great caster. But I'm telling you, this jerk bait casts there right with it.
Oh yeah,
it really does.
Yeah, it has a tungsten weight transfer system. And that's what they were going for.
It's nice,
and it's heavy. I mean, you can zing that thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That doesn't surprise me one bit at all. So, really cool baits. You guys can check them out. They're gonna roll out of here like big time in the next couple of weeks. So, and they're gonna become one of those baits where can you get them? You know,
it's Berkeley.
It's gone. You know, you can't get them. Well, me and George bought 10 billion of these things because we know what this is going to be. This is going to be a slam dunk home run right here.
Yep.
For us guys here in the Northeast. So make sure you get them early. But we wanted to break that down to you, you know, and just let you guys know that we're going to give some on the water reviews too later on. Next couple of weeks, you'll see some on the water reviews. But anyway, that's the Stunna by Berkeley. Now, the other thing that just came in that's pretty ingenious and everybody's been wondering about it, is the new Daiwa Tatula limited edition. And we got them in right and left hand. However, left hand Daiwa, the way they are, they gave everybody like 1 or 2. It's ridiculous. So I think we have like 2 of those things in left hand. So if you're a left-handed guy,
I think we had 3.
Yeah, I think we either have 3 or we're down to whatever. But I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. Here it is. This is the Daiwa Tatula SV103 limited edition, long-awaited bait casting reel from Daiwa. We've been waiting for this. Everybody's excited about it. We've already sold several of them right when they came through the door. Can you break down this reel a little bit, George?
I can.
Yeah, tell us about this reel and what it's all about.
I can. The key thing about Daiwa is it's a little Daiwa's a little confusing these days because basically everything's called Tatula, and it's very difficult to understand the differences in the Tatula reels. The real famous, what they're famous for, the real super easy cast you're going to get on the Tatula with the SV spool. Okay, so the first thing you want to look for is the SV spool. So that comes on 3 models of Tatula.
Mm-hmm.
It comes on this limited edition.
The SV spool is the excellent, longest casting, most accurate spool out that they have.
Well, it's more than that. The SV spool is critical for the braking system. So the Daiwa magnetic system is totally exclusive to Daiwa. And the knock that people give magnetic reels is that the magnet, which is a great aid at the beginning of the cast, is a hindrance.
Never turns off.
On the back, right. It's there when you need it.
It's always on.
It's there when you need it. It's there when you don't need it. If the Daiwa system, the magnet is actually a spring-loaded system. So, and the spring,
centrifugally driven.
Right. The tension on the spring.
So now all of a sudden it's like the centrifugal driven reels.
Right. So it's a magnet that acts like a centrifugal braked reel. So the SV takes it one step farther. They use what they call air braking, which is the actual resistance of the air on the spool, combined with the mag force and the SV spool. And they're really pushing what they're calling zero adjust. So on a lot of reels, you know, you were always taught to adjust your cast control to slow the fall of your lure. You know, more cast control for heavier lures. Less cast control for lighter lures. On the Daiwa with the SV now, so be careful on your Tatulas because there's only 3 of them with SV. Really, there's only 2 because this baby's only going to be around for a short period of time. Because they only it's a once and done. So the SV You're not using a lot of braking here. Okay. It's very hard to turn. And the reason it's very hard to turn, they really don't want you to turn it. Now you can, sometimes when we take them out of the pack, there's a little bit of side-to-side play, and you want to check that on an SV reel. You want to make sure that if there's any of that side-to-side play, that you just take that out.
Just dial it out.
So now you're basically at a 0 setting on, like that would be like your fastest setting on a traditional reel.
Exactly. It's basically turned off.
Okay. So in other words, it's all mag.
Right.
So the key part of the SV system as compared to the other reels that have mag force is the mag, the inductor cup that enters the magnetic ring.
Right.
It's cam operated. And I don't want to sound like, a scientist or something, but I spent the weekend at a Holiday Inn. So, I mean, the forward rotation of the spool, the instant that you cast and that spool rotates forward, the cam that is on the shaft rolls out that cup. So there's no delay. In other words, the standard magnet on MagForce, you got to get a few revolutions in to actuate the spring.
Yep.
This is actually cam operated. So it's an instant engagement. So you don't get the beginning of a backlash that it then takes away.
Starts instantaneously.
You take it out right away.
Yep.
So on your Daiwa reels, always look for your
man.
SV spool.
Beautiful.
Always look for your 0 adjust or your standard SV braking. When they say TWS, they're referring to the T-wing system, which is another ingenious feature where when you put the reel in free spool, you're opening up the diameter of the line guide. So you're not getting harsh angles when your line is on. If your line guide was all the ways over here, every time your line, as it's coming off the reel, gets to this side of the spool, it's carving at an angle. That's increased friction. This opens it up all the way and eliminates
less
that.
friction, better distance and accuracy.
So
and better and not as much backlashing. It actually helps with the backlashing.
It's all mag. The limited edition version. So this is based upon the 103 Tatula SV,
which made them famous.
Okay. But it has the 0 adjust that you find on the compact 103. I'm telling you, it's freaking psycho. So the compact 103 is the same reel as the 103. It's a little more compact. It has the true 0 adjust.
Yeah.
The standard 103 has the standard adjust.
Yeah.
But you treat it like a 0 adjust.
But you shouldn't adjust it.
This has the 0 adjust. So
which I think all the reels are going to.
And I'm sorry to confuse you like that, but you know what?
That's Daiwa.
Call Daiwa.
That's Daiwa.
So this bad boy,
cool handles.
You got a carbon 90 millimeter handle. Okay, you have Zion machined knobs.
Pretty cool.
Let's just face it, that's just some bling right there.
Yeah,
that's all that
got
is.
some nice bling on it. Nothing wrong with bling.
If you're like me and you like shiny things,
it's shiny.
It's silver.
It's silver.
You've got the DVEC logo on the side, so it's a bad looking son of a gun right there. $299.99.
Yep.
When they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
They only made so many. They only made so many. I mean, only so many. There's like a lot of retailers are going to get them.
Yeah.
But we got ours early because Daiwa likes us so much.
Yep.
And
hey,
there you go.
John Henning just woke up. Hey, John. Good morning. How are you, bud?
Third shift.
I get it, buddy. Good morning. Glad to have you stop with us. Don Roeder is with us. Sean Logman.
Yeah.
Lockman.
Yeah.
Lockman. And who else is here? Don Roeder. Yeah, Don Roeder was here at the shop today, Don.
Spinelli.
Tony Spinelli's in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
Appreciate everybody stopping in. I saw some other people here. Ken Wood. What's up, Ken? George Dufresne. George, always good having you. Who else is here? Jeff Riddle. We said hi to you earlier. Yep, absolutely. St. Cress, I said hi to you too. And good. So Jeremy Boyd's here. We got lots of guys stopping in. So that's going to wrap up our tackle. Oh no, we got one more.
Oh, one more.
We got one more.
Nope.
We got one
Nope,
more.
We're not wrapped. Yeah, so there's a lot going on at the shop. So we are getting some hardcore, massive, heavy-duty shipments.
Yeah. These things are freaking beautiful.
We're getting loaded down. We're getting all of next year's products in, and we just received.
I mean, I didn't even get a chance to hold this one yet, Nick.
The new Team Lose Signature Series. So this is kind of cool. So what Lose did was they have a massive pro staff.
Yeah, pro staff is huge.
Mark Rose, Mark Zona, Kevin Van Dam, Andy Montgomery.
This is a Zona rod right here.
Greg Hackney. And so they took these guys and they asked them to design their rods. So for example, I'm holding a Mark Rose 7.2 heavy, and this is his
what? You're holding Mark Rose's rod?
This is his
that's awesome.
worm and jig rod. Okay, so Kevin Van Dam has a spinnerbait target rod. He has a square bill red eye shad rod. I mean, he has I can't think of his other rod. Mark Zona has a series of spinning rods. He has a tube cracking rod. He has a power finesse rod. Andy Montgomery, let's face it, one of the most famous jig skippers in all the land. He has a 6.9
skipping rod
and a 7.1,
and they're legit
jig skipping rod. Now, if you recall,
those actions are legit.
Prior to Lose, Andy Montgomery was on Team Daiwa.
Yeah,
and
that was legit.
In their Tatula Elite Series, he developed the same two rods, the 6.9 and the 7.1
it's very, very
heavy
similar.
jig rods, and they're identical.
Very similar.
Andy Montgomery also developed a Thunder Cricket rod, a 7.3 Thunder Cricket rod. So you get the point.
Yeah.
If you look through the lineup, you will see, all the rods that are, technique and pro driven. They are using what they call their focus blank construction, which is basically a multi-layered carbon blank. They are doing a wind grip. They're doing the wind grips became kind of a thing. Well, Wind's a huge company, by the way.
Yeah.
And Wind has developed like their next generation of grip. It's called a dry tack ultra grip. And then it's
really grippy.
Yeah. And as we've spoken about other rod companies that we really like, the emergence of the Sea Guide brand of guides. These rods are using Sea Guide, RA aluminum oxide guides. So they have a really nice guide train on them. And the price, $179.99. And some of the bigger rods are $189.99.
Excellent price for these
Primarily $179.99.
I noticed that they're light, and you can tell that they made them durable. That's the thing, about some of these light rods. They're real sketchy because they almost seem too light. And they're $99.99, so you get a little bit more breakage with them. These things are built right. These are built to last, and these guys are serious about it. I mean, I saw an interview with some of the guys when they were designing them, and they were designing them since I think 2 years ago they started working on them.
They're pretty cool,
and very, very cool stuff, and they're taken very, very seriously. So
we got a bunch of them in.
Yep, they're all here.
Webmaster Matt has already built some of the pages on them. He might be done by now.
He's working on them.
He has all the casting rods up. He's finishing the spinning rods. They're all in stock.
Yep.
Very good. Yeah. So another thing we have going on is AFCO Reapers.
This is a big deal.
So there's a new version of the Reaper.
This is a big deal.
That
And you guys
is
hanging on here.
coming out.
Going to get first shot at.
All the colors aren't out yet. The most of the colors are out, but not all the colors. And we're working on those pages. They'll be up by the end of the week on the new version of the Reaper. But we have to make room for them, and we bought a lot.
Yeah,
we bought a lot.
Bought a lot of them.
They came on a tractor trailer. That's how many we bought.
We bought a lot of them to close
Now,
it out. So here it is for you guys.
So the existing current model Reaper,
which is on our website right now,
and
ready to go.
25% off.
25% off.
That's a good deal.
You guys are going to want to jump on that now. There
are some limited quantities.
The sale prices are going to hit, I think, by midnight. So it may take till tomorrow morning for you guys to be able to do it.
Yeah, we have the sale price coming on.
But get ready. It's
for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's actually.
We wanted to announce it tonight.
Yeah. So and you guys are going to get first shot at it because nobody else knows about it, and none of our emailing and marketing is going to hit until Friday afternoon. So
right. So
yeah,
there's just about every color they make. Not all the sizes. Some of the colors we have a lot of. Some of the colors we have a decent selection of. Some of the colors we're almost sold out of. But
there's a bunch of them.
If you want to get a Reaper,
yep.
And then next up will be the new Reaper, which we will have for you to check out in a couple of days. There's a whole new set of colors. There's a new feel to it. There's a new color in the soft shell, which is the breathable windproof version. They have a new color in that. So that's all coming up. But get you some Reapers. Do your Christmas shopping. Don't worry about all them boats out in the ocean. Get everybody a Reaper for Christmas. For God's sakes, man, save some money.
Yep.
And finally, on product, I would like to announce some awesome mergers that occurred in the industry.
My God.
That I think is going to benefit us as anglers.
The tackle industry is going crazy right now.
So, Gary Yamamoto just sold.
Man, that's a huge deal.
Gary Yamamoto just sold to GSM Outdoors, which is primarily a fall goods hunting gun related business in Texas. And they are branching out into the fishing arena by buying Gary Yamamoto. So, we're thinking, and Gary Yamamoto did a great job during the pandemic and all the availability issues. We're thinking these guys aren't gonna screw that up. So, the other one that's interesting is Coppers. And Mike and I go
live target.
Mike and I go back to Grant Coppers coming into our shop before there was a Coppers.
Yeah.
And saying, guys, I'm bringing these crankbaits out and I'm looking for your support. And we supported them until they grew into mega financial big box, owned by, big money groups, and kind of forgot about the individual. Well, I'm excited to say that Mustad bought Coppers. Yep. And Mustad is very pro shop, independent retailer driven company that has, we carry a freaking truckload of their hooks. So excited about that. So that's some industry news for you. And
exciting news. Big news.
Yeah.
Coppers and Yamamoto have been sold. That's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Mike, hit some music and let's give some stuff away.
Yeah, we got some prizes.
Give us some jams here. Give us some jams.
And we're going to do that right now. Okay, so as you guys know, we all try to me and George try to let you know, and courtesy of Bass University, Pete Galusic, having Pete on a couple weeks ago. Thank you very much, Pete. He came up with a prize package to give us to give away, one on Facebook and one on YouTube. They are the golden tickets. It is a prize valued at over almost $200.
I thought he said 2 million.
Yeah, you're getting a full subscription to Bass U TV for 1 year, $149 value. Man,
Which is awesome.
I just can't imagine,
Especially coming into winter.
how much stuff's on there that is so awesome to watch and learn. It's just great stuff. And he's going to give you a Bass U hat, which I love. I don't even have one. I just love the hat. And we're also going to give away a T-shirt, a Bass U T-shirt, and we'll give your contact.
You got to have swag, baby.
Yeah, we'll give your contact information to Pete, and he'll hook you up with that. So we put it out there. You guys responded. We got a great response. And the way we did it was on Facebook. We gathered everybody's names, and there was a lot of you, and we put a number for each name. We have a number for each name, and then we went on to Google and we found a number puller,
a random
number,
okay. Random number puller.
Yep.
And I
don't think that's a technical term though.
I don't know, whatever it is. It was pretty cool because, you know, we didn't want it. We wanted to be totally transparent on this. You know, we didn't want to have anything to do with it. So my daughter, Caitlin, computer person, Caitlin, she has been, you know, watching this every day, and she's been putting you guys on there as you've been doing it, and it was a great response. We appreciate it very much to get this. And the winner of the Bass University package on Facebook, okay, the winner. Ready for this, Corbin?
Do it.
Hang on.
Get the round of applause ready, baby.
Okay. The winner, Josh Smith.
Josh Smith. Come on.
Give yourself
down.
a round of applause, Mikey. Come on, hit the round
Josh
of applause.
Smith, you are the winner of the Bass University Golden Ticket. Congratulations.
Fantastic,
brother. It was just
and we're going to reach out to him.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that.
We're going to reach out to you, Josh.
So that gives us the last ticket to pull, and cameraman Nick was in charge of this one, and he's going old school. He wanted us to kind of,
yeah, he likes to pick the paper.
He wanted us to do it right in front of you guys. We got everybody's name in a bucket over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick in the bucket, and we're going to draw out the winner from, this is all the YouTube subscribers and listeners and watchers, and which we appreciate very much. And you guys did a great job, and you're growing our channel very well, and we appreciate that. But for the Bass University Golden Ticket, Bass University Golden Ticket goes to, on YouTube, Sean Orndorff.
Yeah.
There you go, Sean. You are the winner of the second golden ticket, the Bass University prize package. You guys, we will get a hold of you guys as soon as we can. If you don't hear from us, that means we can't get a hold of you, and you need to call us. And if you're watching right now, we appreciate it. Sean Orndorff, give us a buzz here. But we will reach out to you guys. I'm sure Nick will be able to hook up with you, and Caitlin's going to hook up with everybody on on the Facebook. And there you go. We have the we're giving away stuff here at Susquehanna at Tackle Shop Live, Susquehanna Fish and Tackle. And don't forget, there's still a big prize lurking out there. Huge pile of tackle. Cameraman Nick went around. If you can remember, cameraman Nick went around the shop and he picked up, how much stuff was it, Nick?
It was over $250 value.
$250 value.
It's good you just brought this up because it just was posted again on Instagram today.
Yeah.
So it reminds you, you can re-sign up. You can sign up as many times as you want, as long as you follow the directions.
Yeah.
And as soon as we hit our mark, we're going to pick a winner right here in Tackle Shop Live.
Tell your friends. Share this with your friends. Tell them all to go to our Instagram page, because the faster we get to our number, the faster we're going to pick that prize, and the faster we're going to find out who wins a $250 hand-picked Cameraman Nick hot tackle. I looked at it myself, and I was really jealous because he really picked it right. So That's great. So thank you so much for entering, and congratulations to all the winners. And stay tuned, everybody, because we're going to be giving stuff away all winter long. It's going to be a long winter. We all hate it, and but that's going to be in a couple months, but we'll be here for you.
We still got a lot of fishing to do, man.
We still got a lot of fishing to
yet.
do. Corbin's over here falling asleep. He's ready to go home. He's been fishing every single day of the week for the last 3 weeks. He's some kind of crazy fisherman.
No.
I don't know how you do it, Corbin.
Pack it up and see what tomorrow brings, man.
Till next time, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll check you next time on Tackle Shop Live.
Yeah.
Yep.
A sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down, knowing I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Hopeless lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny game. You know just what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make